and welcome to our continuation in the series of lectures Hidden Facts in Biology. We are looking at the process of nutrition and we are also in plant nutrition still. Now we'll be talking about the mineral requirements of plants, where we are going to be looking at the micronutrients and the macronutrients. By way of introduction, I want you to understand that mineral elements are required for the normal growth and development of green plants. For green plants to grow and develop, they need mineral elements. In addition to the carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, which we said earlier that are needed for the formation of food, there are other mineral elements which the green plants need, and they need it in the form of what salt. So these elements can either be in the form of micronutrient or macronutrient. When we say micronutrient, we mean those mineral salts that are required by living organisms in small quantities. That is, the living organisms need this nutrient in small amount, that is small quantities. Whereas the macronutrients, the word macro means large, are required in large quantities. What are the examples of the macronutrients? The examples of macronutrients include nitrogen, phosphorus, we have sulfur, we have potassium, we have magnesium, we have calcium, we have iron, we have carbon, we have hydrogen, and we also have what? Oxygen. So from our previous lectures, we have looked at the function of hydrogen and oxygen in the process of photosynthesis, but we are still going to be looking at them now. First of all, let's talk about what the importance of carbon is. Carbon enters the plant in combination with oxygen. The carbon, it enters the plant in combination with oxygen as carbon 4Z, which we call the CO2 molecule. The CO2 molecule, that is carbon 4Z. That is what enters into the plant, and it's a combination of carbon and oxygen. And what is this carbon 4Z used for? It is used for the synthesis of carbohydrates. It can also be used for the synthesis of protein, fat, and complexes of these products. And it also plays a role in respiration because it helps to provide energy that is used in the respiratory process. Now, how about hydrogen? What's the function of hydrogen? What's the importance of hydrogen as a nutrient? Hydrogen enters the plant in combination with oxygen. So when hydrogen combines with oxygen, it forms the water molecule. So it enters as water molecule. So this water molecule, which is known as H2O, is used for oxidation and reduction processes. And like we said earlier, let's not forget that water molecule is normally split in the process of photosynthesis by photolytic reaction, and in that it produces hydrogen ion and hydrogen ion. The hydrogen ion that is being produced maintains acidic base balance of cell fluid. So that is the function of hydrogen. How about oxygen? Like we said before, based on the previous explanation, we said that oxygen can enter the plant as either CO2, that's when it combines with carbon. It can also enter the plant as H2O when it combines with water, and it can also enter as molecular oxygen from the atmosphere. And the function of this oxygen is that it is used for aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is the respiration that takes place in the presence of oxygen. So now we'll be looking at nitrogen. What's the function of nitrogen and how do we even get it? Nitrogen, first of all, is obtained as nitrogenous compound in soil solution, and this nitrogen is used for amino acid formation. It's also used for the formation of protein and other nitrogenous compound. So that is that about nitrogen. How about phosphorus? Phosphorus is absorbed from the soil in the form of phosphate. So the solution in the soil, if there's phosphate there, phosphorus will be absorbed in the form of phosphate ion. And what this phosphorus does is that it serves as buffer in the cell sap. It serves as buffer in the cell sap. And also it is used in the formation of coenzymes and adenine phosphate. Don't forget that this adenine phosphate is also responsible for energy. That is when it is in the triphosphate form, that is adenine triphosphate. Energy is stored in the form of ATP. Now we'll go to the function of sulfur. Sulfur is very important, but how does the plant get sulfur? Sulfur, like other ions, is absorbed from the soil solution, but it is absorbed as sulfate ions. This sulfur is important because sulfur is contained in amino acids such as cysteine. It's also present in amino acids like cysteine and also in methionine. And this sulfur plays a role in chlorophyll formation. That is, may be used in chlorophyll formation. Now we'll go to another nutrient, which is magnesium. Magnesium is absorbed as magnesium ion. And a very important function of magnesium is that it is used for the formation of chlorophyll. And also magnesium is a catalyst in glycolytic reaction. The process of glycolysis, magnesium acts as a catalyst. Now we're talking about calcium. Calcium is absorbed as calcium ion, that is Ca2 plus, and it is used for plant cell formation. So that's the function of calcium, formation of plant cells. So we need calcium for that. So now we're talking about potassium. Potassium is absorbed in the ionic form as potassium ion. That is the K plus. K plus signifies potassium ion. The plus should be a superscript. And potassium is important in that it is used in protein synthesis to form proteins. Also important in chlorophyll formation, and also important when carbon is to be assimilated. Other macronutrient we have here, which is iron. Iron is absorbed as iron 2 or iron 3 ions. The iron 2 is normally in the plus 2 state. That is the oxidized form of plus 2, that is Fe2 plus. While the iron 3 is in the 3 plus state, Fe3 plus. So we can either call this as either the ferrous form or the ferric form. So what is the importance of iron? Iron is an essential part of the respiratory enzyme, and it's also an essential part in chlorophyll. So those are the macronutrients we are able to look at. Now we'll be looking at some micronutrients. So what are the examples of the micronutrients we could have? Example of this micronutrients include boron, we have manganese, we have zinc, we have copper, we have molybdenum, we have chlorine, we have vanadium, there is cobalt, and also silicon. So we'll be talking about some of these. The first one we'll be looking at is boron. What is the importance of boron? Boron is necessary for the development of apical meristems. So in the development of apical meristems in plants, boron plays a function, and also is also important in the translocation of sugar, and uptake of calcium. So those are the importance of boron. So how is it absorbed from the soil? Boron is absorbed from the soil as borate ion. That is the ionic form, and normally we write it as BO subscript 2 then minus at the top. So there's a minus superscript. So that's how the boron is absorbed from the soil. So the next one we'll be looking at is the manganese. Manganese is absorbed as manganese ion. It's absorbed as manganese ion, and that is written as capital M small m 2 plus. So that is the manganese ion. It is present in green plants, and the function of this manganese is that it is associated with the respiratory enzyme system. That's the function of manganese. So now we're looking at zinc. The zinc is the next micronutrient we'll be looking at. Zinc is absorbed as zinc ion, and it's a constituent of the carbohydrate enzymes. So the enzymes that are involved in formation of carbohydrates, zinc is part of them. Now we look at copper. Copper is absorbed as copper ions. It's absorbed in the ionic form as the Cu2 plus. And the function of this copper is that it's involved in respiratory processes, in the process of respiration. Copper is very important. The next one we're looking at is the molybdenum. So molybdenum is essential for normal growth in some plants when the only form of nitrogen available is nitrate. So molybdenum also plays a role in plant growth. So now we have looked at the micro and the macronutrients, but for easy grabs, I'll be showing you a table, and in that table, we'll analyze each and every one of them so that you can easily understand them. So we'll draw a table and we'll show you the various macronutrients, their function, and what will happen if any of them is deficient. So first of all, we'll be looking at the macronutrients. So we'll draw a table, and that is the table you have seen. So we'll listen at the various macronutrients. We'll talk about their function in the plant, and we'll also look at what the deficiency will result to. So the first one is magnesium. What's the function magnesium plays in the plant? Although we have said this before, but it's good we iterate it, say it again so that you understand perfectly. Magnesium helps in the following way. The first one is in the formation of chlorophyll. It helps in the activation of coenzymes. And magnesium also promotes the growth of the plants. So what's the deficiency? The deficiency of magnesium will be poor growth. Since it helps in the promotion of growth, if it's absent, there will be poor growth. Another deficiency of magnesium is what we know as chlorosis. What is chlorosis? Chlorosis is the yellowing of plant leaves due to insufficient chlorophyll. So when magnesium is not there, the process of forming chlorophyll will be hampered. And if that is hampered, there will be the yellowing of the plant, which is chlorosis. Now we're going to the next macronutrient. This is calcium. So what are the functions of calcium in plant? It helps, first of all, in the formation of the cell wall of the plant. Calcium plays an important role in that. It also helps in the activation of some enzymes. Calcium helps in the activation of enzymes, and also it gives rigidity to the plant. What will happen if calcium is deficient? First of all, there will be stunted growth. The plant will not be able to grow well. It will be stunted. Then there will be death of terminal bud, and also there will be poor root development. So those are the deficiency that are associated with absence of calcium, or when calcium is deficient. So those are the things you will see. How about iron? We'll be looking at iron now. What's the formation of iron? Iron helps in the formation of chlorophyll, and also it helps in the formation of protein. And what is the deficiency? Let's not forget that protein helps in growth. So if iron is deficient, protein won't form, and also this will result in poor growth. So there will be poor growth. And since iron helps in the formation of chlorophyll, we also see chlorosis, and this will lead to yellowing of the leaves. That the leaves will become yellow. The next one we'll be looking at is nitrogen. What's the function of nitrogen? Nitrogen helps in the proper development of the roots. It helps in protein synthesis. It helps in nucleic acid synthesis, and it also forms a component of chlorophyll and enzymes. The deficiency of nitrogen will result in the following. Number one, stunted growth and chlorosis, which we know is the yellowing of leaves, and it also results in poor flower and fruit formation. The next macronutrient we'll be looking at is phosphorus. What is the function of phosphorus? Phosphorus helps in the formation of ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate, DNA, DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA, which is ribonucleic acid. Phosphate or phosphorus also helps in the formation of stem and roots. It also helps in coenzymes and protein formation. The deficiency of phosphorus results in the following: stunted growth, poor root development. Now we'll take a look at sulfur. What is the function of sulfur in plants? Sulfur helps in protein synthesis. And what will happen when sulfur is deficient? There will be stunted growth and chlorosis. And if you have been following, you will know that chlorosis means yellowing of leaves. Now we look at potassium. What are the functions of potassium? Potassium helps in protein synthesis, cell membrane formation, and the activation of respiration and photosynthesis. What happens if potassium is deficient? The leaf margin will turn yellow and brown, and also there will be premature death of plants. So now we have looked at the macronutrients, also look at their functions again and the deficiency of each of these nutrients. Now we'll be looking at the micronutrients. We'll also take their functions and what will happen when they are deficient. The first one we'll be looking at is manganese. We'll take a look at manganese. So what is the function of manganese in plants? Manganese activates enzymes involved in cellular respiration and photosynthesis. So it's involved in what? Activation of enzymes. What will happen if manganese is deficient? When manganese is deficient, there will be the death of shoots. So the shoot of plants will die. The next micronutrient we'll be looking at is zinc. Of what importance does zinc play in plants? What zinc does is that, first of all, it is necessary for the synthesis of the starting material of auxin, and this material is known as tryptophan. Auxin is a class of plant hormones that play a crucial role in regulating various aspects of plant development. So what auxin does is that it helps in cell elongation and growth. It also helps in what's called apical dominance, and also it helps in formation of fruit and development. Auxin also helps in phototropism. So this tryptophan is formed with the aid of zinc. Tryptophan is an amino acid, and without zinc, tryptophan might not be formed. So what is the deficiency of zinc? The deficiency of zinc will simply lead to poor growth. So what we failed to mention was that there are some other functions of zinc that we didn't mention. Some of those functions include the fact that it activates some enzymes. Let's not forget that zinc activates some enzymes, and also it plays a role in the synthesis of proteins. It plays a role in the synthesis of proteins. That's why the deficiency of zinc will be poor growth. The next micronutrient we'll be looking at is copper. What's the function of copper? Copper, first of all, is a component of the respiratory enzyme. Another function is that we see it in materials which act as electron carrier for chlorophyll. So it's present in materials which act as electron carrier for chlorophyll. This makes it important in the process of photosynthesis. So the deficiency of copper will be poor growth. The next micronutrient we'll be looking at is boron. What's the function of boron? Boron helps in the translocation of sugar and calcium. What is the deficiency of boron? The deficiency of boron will be poor growth, and also the poor growth of pollen tube. The next micronutrient we'll be looking at is molybdenum. The function of molybdenum includes the fact that it is necessary for nitrogen fixation by nitrogen fixing bacteria. All those nitrogen fixing bacteria like Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter. So we need molybdenum for them to fix nitrogen. Molybdenum helps to reduce nitrate to nitrite, and the deficiency of molybdenum is that it will lead to poor growth. The next micronutrient we'll be looking at is chlorine. What's the function of chlorine? Chlorine is important in the fact that it is necessary for oxygen release during photosynthesis, And when this chlorine is deficient, it may affect growth. Now we're looking at another micronutrient in nickel. Nickel is necessary for nitrogen metabolism, and when it is deficient, it will lead to stunted growth and chlorosis. The last nutrient we'll be looking at is silicon, and silicon is one of the elements that is responsible for cell wall formation. It is important in cell wall formation, and when this is deficient, it may affect growth. Now we have come to the end of the discussion of macronutrients and micronutrients. These are the nutritional requirements of plants, the nutrients in which plants will need. Now we'll be looking at some examples and exercise to help our understanding of these concepts. Our first example here says, which of these elements is required by plants in small quantities only? A. Boron, B. Nitrogen, C. Phosphorus, D. Magnesium, E. Potassium. Before we answer this question, I want to remind us that we said micronutrients are those elements that plants require in small quantities for their normal growth and functioning. And among the options we have, the only micronutrient is boron. So that's our answer will be A, boron, because it is a micronutrient. The next example we have says, which of the following elements are necessary for the formation of chlorophyll in a plant? A. Magnesium and iron, B. Calcium and potassium, C. Potassium and sulfur, D. Phosphorus and potassium. If you look at our table very well and study, you will know that the answer to this question are magnesium and iron. They are the only ones in the options that are both necessary for the formation of chlorophyll. So the answer is A. To our next question, it says, which of these is a trace element? A. Iron, B. Copper, C. Calcium, D. Sulfur. The only element there that is a trace element is copper, which is B. And this is because trace elements are also known as micronutrients, and copper is a micronutrient or microelement. To our next question, in demonstrating the importance of mineral elements in plants, the culture bottle must be darkened to A. Prevent algal growth in culture solution, B. Allow root growth, C. Prevent breakdown of mineral elements, D. Prevent photosynthesis in the root. The correct option is A. Prevent algal growth in the culture solution. And this is because if the culture bottle is not darkened, light will penetrate through the culture bottle, and when light penetrates through the culture bottle, algae will be able to what? Grow. Light will be a source of energy for the algae to grow. That is why the culture bottle must be darkened. To our next question, it says intervenor chlorosis is normally associated with the deficiency of A. Magnesium, B. Potassium, C. Amino acid, D. Starch. The correct option here is magnesium, which is a macronutrient. We said earlier on that magnesium is responsible for the formation of chlorophyll, and when it is deficient, it leads to yellowing of leaf, which is known as what? Chlorosis. That's why our answer is A. To our next question, it says in a water culture experiment, a plant showed poor growth and yellowing of the leaves. This may be due to the deficiency of A. Copper, B. Iron, C. Magnesium, D. Calcium. The correct option is C. Magnesium. This is because yellowing of the leaves, also known as chlorosis, results due to the deficiency of magnesium. Now to our next question, it says which of the following is not regarded as a micronutrient or trace element for plant growth? A. Phosphorus, B. Zinc, C. Boron, D. Silicon, E. Molybdenum. The only option that is not a trace element or micronutrient is phosphorus, which is A. Phosphorus is a macronutrient. This brings us to the end of our examples. Now we'll be looking at some exercises. These exercises were taken from our book in Hidden Facts in Biology in page 91. These are just but a few of the exercises that are present in this subtopic. You can check for other exercises and example in the book. The answers are also given at the back of the book. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.